Hello friends, welcome to this seasonal catch-up video. This video will be a mishmash including some of my current practices and just what I've been up to in general. And I'll start from January and go on from there towards the spring season in March. The winter this year was relatively mild for the most part, but then in January, Mother Nature decided that it was time for some real snow. It was quite calming to see it falling down gently and everything dusted in the white fluffy snow. During the colder months, I really enjoy having roasted veggies. Roasted potatoes and broccoli are my favorites. I got really sick towards the end of January, but once I got better, I decided I would try recreating a Chinese soup that my grandma used to make. So back in the days, she would make a huge batch in this large clay pot, and this soup is supposed to help calm the respiratory system. Here I'm just winging the recipe from what I remember, and so what I have here are some carrots and also something we call green carrot, which is a literal translation because I have no idea what it's called in English. But I think it's something more related to turnips, I believe. And there's also some snow fungus and dates. So the snow fungus provides the sort of nourishing and calming quality to this soup, and the dates give the soup a very rich umami-ness and it really helps elevate the soup's flavor and depth. Believe me. There was also one other ingredient which I couldn't find, which again, this is just a literal translation. These are called the South Apricot kernels and North Apricot kernels, and supposedly they're good for relieving coughs, but it does need to be cooked properly, otherwise it can be poisonous. You know, I'd love to learn more about Chinese medicine one day, but anyways, making the soup is pretty easy. You just chop up all the ingredients and throw everything into a pot. And for the snow fungus, just remember to cut away the dirty stem parts. And yeah, so once you have all the ingredients in the pot, just fill it up with water until it covers everything. And then bring everything to a boil on high heat first, and then switch over to medium-low after that for at least 2 hours. Ideally 3 to really get the flavors out. And yeah, then you're done. So this is the state of my altar space as of late. Of course, with some more personal things removed for the purposes of this video. But yeah, let me walk you through some of the areas of it. So over there at the back is mail that I received, and this was from the first ever snail mail tarot reading swap that I participated in, which was hosted by Sarah at Tangy Tarot back in January. And I got partnered up with someone to do readings for each other for February. And it was really interesting to read other people's interpretation of the cards. And yeah, overall, it was a nice experience reading for someone else because it's not something that I usually do. I typically just read for myself. So it was really nice to sort of like step a bit out of my comfort zone and try something different. I've also got a couple of guidebooks out, and these are just some that I've been referencing more frequently lately. And I've just been keeping them out here, because it just makes it easier to reach for. And it's for the cards over on the right of this table, which I'll show you in a minute. All right, so next over here, we've got some what I call my daily cards, but I put them in quotations because it's not a true daily thing. I try to do it daily, but it doesn't always happen. So I might have mentioned before that I've been trying to learn Lenormand. And so what I've been doing is pulling 2 cards. So that's what I've got going over here. And just practicing reading 2 card combinations. And the one that I'm using right now is the Black Salt Lenormand. And I find that having started reading cards with tarot, like the straightforwardness and the, I guess, sort of like directionality of Lenormand does take some time getting used to for me. But it's been an interesting process and something that I'll keep working on. And then behind that, we've got the Crystal Radiant cards. And what I usually do is just pull a single card whenever I feel like it, and I put it up, and it just sort of like becomes the energy of the day. And I'll read through what it has to say at the back as well, especially the affirmation and energy parts of it. So moving over, this is the more central area of my altar space, and it's typically where I would put some of my more personal items, and it's also more of a working area. So yeah, I leave, tarot readings like I have over here. And generally speaking, this space doesn't have too many things usually. I do like to keep some of my crystals here. This gorgeous amethyst is the first crystal that I ever got. There's something really special about the energy it gives, and I always feel calm and peaceful with it, so it's a mainstay on my altar. Right now I've also got this simple clear quartz, and I've also got this ocean jasper, and I feel like it fits in very well with springtime. It's fresh and earthy at the same time, and it's just good vibes to me. Over here on the side, I've also got this small selenite wand for whenever I want to cleanse anything, be it decks or other items. Usually it's decks. But yeah, so this is another one that always stays around on the altar. So finally, we've got this other area for cards. I've focused my practice more on attuning to natural cycles these days. So I've been working more regularly with decks that feature this, and by doing so, I'm feeling the changing environments and energy shifts, moving from winter to spring. So I have a couple of cards that are more seasonal or monthly. So this one's the Pisces cards. Let me just show you real quick. This one's the first Pisces card. So this one's the other Pisces card. So yeah, I'll switch these up as the zodiac seasons change. And then at the back here, we've got this one from the Celtic Tree Oracle, and the first 13 cards in this Oracle deck actually represent each of the months, with the 13th card representing, I believe it's like the first few days leading up to Samhain. So card number 1 actually starts in November, so it's March right now as I'm filming this, and that's why I've got card number 5 out. And then finally, we've got the Moon Oracle cards, which I've just started working with in the past month or so. This Oracle deck has been very interesting. It's got a 3-part structure. So there are the lunar goddesses associated with each month. I hope I got that right. I'm still learning the system, but yeah, so the lunar goddesses, and then there are the moon mansion cards, which change as the moon enters different degrees of the zodiac signs. Like, for example, this card. This card represents, if you can see at the bottom here, it represents the period as the moon is in 2543 degrees in Cancer to 834 degrees in Leo. It's a bit small there, but I hope you can see it. So yeah, I've been trying to work with that, and to find out the degree and sign the moon is in, I've been using the website astro-seek.com, and I just have it bookmarked to my home screen, and it's basically how I know which cards to switch over to. It's also got the lunar phases and stuff, so yeah, basically all the information I need to work with the cards here. It's free, and I don't need to install another app on my phone, which is always a plus in my mind. But yeah, finally there are the lunar phase cards, and there are cards for all 4 elements, and that's because each zodiac sign is associated with a different element, right? And this has really made me work with the cards more regularly because the moon cycles go through to a different zodiac sign like almost every other day, right? So this space and these cards in particular are getting a lot of use, and it's also why I have the guidebook out. So basically every time I switch the cards, I refer to the guidebook and just read up on what it has to say about the cards. And it's been interesting, especially with all the combinations there are, with not just between the lunar phase and the zodiacal element, but also with, the moon mansions and the energies of the lunar goddess cards. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I currently don't work with any deities per se. Not that I don't want to, but I just haven't been called to for the time being, I guess. And I don't think it's something that can be forced. Um, so having these lunar goddess cards out, I think, is a sort of segue for me to find out more and learn about them in a more beginner sense. As the weather warmed up a bit, I decided to go on a hike. I'm so grateful that there is so much nature to explore where I live. This time I went to a park that I haven't been to before, and I loved hearing the birds, the sound of the river. There was an area where I could really feel the low frequency of the water just flowing through the body. It made me think about how we often associate water with such gentle and soft qualities, but being by this river and waterfall made me feel that there's actually so much power in water as well. Some updates from me about my progress reading Ching The Oracle by Benebell. I finally read through like this all these chapters that precede this gray section, and I guess like what I've read here are the sort of like preliminary chapters that build up your foundation, and the gray section here is really the part about the actual translations and interpretations of the 64 hexagrams. And I've been allowing myself to go through this book very slowly because there's just so much information to absorb and digest. Like, for example, I was reading this section about a plum blossom numerology exercise, which starts over here, and the book talks about how you get some numbers and you do some division and get the remainder, and then you look up that remainder in the early heaven bagua. I don't know if you can see that there, but that's what it says. And when I'm reading this, I feel like the book lays out all the facts, but I was like, oh, why am I using the early heaven bagua and not the later heaven bagua? And it doesn't really tell you directly here, but then I've been finding something that I've had to do with this book is to sort of like connect some of those dots. so for this particular example, what I did was I went back to the section where it started talking about the plum blossom school of, yeah, so right here, like here it says, in the plum blossom school, it's a form of horary astrology, and that it makes use of the lunisolar calendar. So it's a calendar that accounts for both the moon phases and the degree positions of the sun. Okay, so I got that. And then I had to go back and look up where the book first introduces the early heaven and later heaven Bagua, which I think, oh wait, yeah, I think it's, so yeah, it was here. And then again, I'm not sure if it's legible, but basically here it talks about how the early heaven is about natural cosmic cycles of creation and destruction, whereas the later heaven at the bottom here, it says that it's a rearrangement by King Wen, and how it reveals how humanity can self-determine its own fate and override natural cycles. So the fact that the early heaven is about predicting using natural cycles, and knowing that the plum blossom stems from this lunisolar calendar kind of like background, it finally kind of clicked to me why that particular plum blossom numerology exercise was referencing the early heaven Bagua. At least, that's what I think. And, so when I've been reading this book, I've had to do some of those like connecting the dots. And, like everything that I've read so far, I feel like it's been building up these many layers of foundations and background knowledge to be able to start comprehending these 64 hexagrams. And I think there's a lot in here that I'll need to reread to fully understand and retain. And that when I do reread that, I'm planning to add those tabs in there. But this book really does give that much required and comprehensive background that I think people should have when studying the I Ching, because it is, after all, the I Ching is, after all, like the backbone of many branches of Chinese metaphysics, and I feel like this book provides that sort of like introductory knowledge that it deserves. And if any of you are, going through this book, remember to check Benebell's website for amendments to the text, because there were, I think, like 1 or 2 places that I got thrown off by before seeing the amendments. So yeah, just remember to check that out. So that's about all I've got for this seasonal catch-up video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.